David Stark from WatcherPass.com, and today I'm excited to interview Collin Schiffli, the director of Die in a Gunfight, which is releasing in theaters on July 16th, 2021. We're going to talk to him in just a second, but first, let's check out the trailer. And while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. It helps me out a lot. Thank you.
We're not even invited to this thing, are we?
Nope.
Mom's coming.
Benjamin, have you two been smoking dope?
Nah.
Why can't you keep him under control?
Your son's an anarchist, Mrs. Gibbon.
It was personal. Mary Rathcart. Ben Gibbon. Do I need to explain to you why this is unacceptable? End it. It was an instant scandal.
You take care of my problem, I'll grant you my daughter's hand.
Oh.
Do you have a death wish? Something that excites you?
Dude, it's pretty much conform or die. Honestly, I'd rather die.
So thank you so much for joining me. This is Collin Schiffli, the director of Die in a Gunfight, which is releasing in theaters on July 16th, 2021. I don't have any notes on it, but it feels like a stylish kind of modern Romeo and Juliet type of film. And so I guess my first question is, how did this kind of come across your desk? How did you kind of get on this film, get on your radar? Because it's a really interesting film. And I kind of like some of the touches that were made to kind of modernize the story.
Yeah, for sure. It is a unique film. It came to me. The writers were kind of fans of my first film. Luckily, they had worked on Ant-Man and met the lead actor and writer of my first two movies, David Dastmalchian. And I think they had watched Animals, and they were like, "What's this director up to?" And I, of course, jumped at the chance to get to know the writers of the Ant-Man films, and the script, I had no idea what it was going to be. I assumed it would be in the vein of my other films, which is very gritty, heavy, grounded. As you can see, it is this polar opposite. But I think I jumped at the chance to do it because Andrew and Gabe, they're very witty, charming, kind of romanticized. They can romanticize anything. And that connected to something from my youth, and especially like those teen years and college years of wanting to go out and take on the world and you feel kind of numb, but you're like, you feel like you have something to prove. And I felt all of that in the script, but it was so self-aware and such a love letter to cinema that it kind of made me, I keep saying it made me put my money where my mouth was, because I always talk about how I want to make all kinds of movies. I don't want to be pigeonholed into one genre or one thing. And yeah, sure, there might be one or two things that every director does better than something else. But I'm always like, why can't I see Martin Scorsese's Star Wars? Why can't I see George Lucas's Goodfellas? I want to see, it's like we always kind of get the same thing. And for me, I was like, well, this is it. This is my chance to, I read the script and I was like, this is such a love letter to movies. And it's so, to French New Wave films and all the movie tropes with playing with the format itself. It's like, well, this might be a chance fresh off of two heavy films to go the other direction and do something that's stylized and tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, no, definitely. This was much more lighthearted than I think your previous work was. And of those options you said, I think I'd rather see a Martin Scorsese Star Wars than a George Lucas. Goodfellas.
Sure. Totally fair. I agree.
But hey, I would be interested to see them both. I wouldn't turn either down.
Yeah,
so.
It's intriguing to think like, what would someone do with something different? The same material.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I wanted to explore the script. It was a larger than life world that I'd never played with before. Got to play in.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, what I really loved is how it starts with this animated intro that I think really kind of sets the tone very well. It kind of has this, hip feel and these really bright colors, but you can get kind of the irreverent tone of the film from it. Was that always in the script, or was that something that you kind of brought in as an idea of how to set the stage? Like, how did that get into this film?
It was not always in the script, but like all indie films, you have budget limitations and although this is Lionsgate and it's going to be able to reach a lot of people, it's still a very low budget movie, and with an ensemble cast and a big world. So for me, it was like, how do we hit that just right and get people to understand it and buy into it? And originally the script had all of those moments, had that kind of intro, but we just couldn't film it. We couldn't get, there's originally kids and the kid version of him and all these different renditions of the backstories. And as we were making the movie, especially because of, COVID had hit, we were editing right in the heart of COVID. And, so that gave us, it was kind of a blessing in disguise because we were left alone to just play and toy around with the different, kind of movie tropes and all the different formats of how you could convey different ideas. And it's like, well, we never had a chance to tackle properly the backstories. And right off the bat, I was like, everything in the first like kind of 10 minutes or under needs to set the stage, and then the movie can go. We got to just kind of, in a way, I keep saying, assault the senses with like this is the ride you're going on, and it's not, we're going to grab you and it's not going to stop. But at the same time, it's such a strange tone. It's like, how do we do that? And it was actually Andrew, I think, and all of us kind of collectively talking about what's missing. We've done a little of everything now. We've played with all the colors and we filmed it in a way that supports this. How do we push it? How do we just get it to the icing on the cake? And we had no way of going to shoot some of the extra stuff we needed because of, we're all locked up. So we're like, well, who can work right now? And what are we missing in this movie that we've literally done a nod to everything? What's missing? And I think he was like, what about animation? And we looked at the club scene, we looked at all the scenes already, and they almost look like, everyone is a caricature in this film in a way, especially the side supporting roles. It's like, well, it was like a no-brainer. Like, we need to start this movie with this kind of very kind of pretty, cool, poppy, like you said, hip, kind of visual guide to, like, you're entering a larger than life scene. And
and it really kind of grabs you at the start. I wanted more animation throughout, but I understand.
If we had more money, trust me. We had all these awesome ideas later down the movie, so it's kind of heartbreaking to be like, no, I want a Wayne and Barbie backstory. I want all the side characters. And originally, some of that they wrote it beautifully, and we had them, but we just with time and money and all that sort of thing, we're like, well, let's at least if it's gonna go somewhere, it's got to be in that first 10 to 15 minutes to kind of set the stage.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that was a great draw into the film. But then what really kind of captures you is are the main characters, specifically Ben, played by Diego, and Mary, played by Alexandra. How did you get them involved, and how did they kind of get on board? Because they did a fantastic job, and they were really fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed their performances, because they brought a whole aspect to it that was, it was on the page, but they put so much of themselves into it. And that's what I think when I met them, that's what I was looking for. It's like this movie has gone through many renditions. And if you look back online to the history of it, Zac Efron was attached at one point when it was going to be more of a literal romantic comedy.
High School Musical, the Gunfight.
Yeah. That was way back when, way before me, 10 years ago. And, the different renditions of the people that I was looking for, and fortunately the producers as well, and the writers, like, as we were all kind of like, what is this movie? For me, the tone for me was like, well, I want to nod to all those cool 80s and 90s movies, that knew what they were. They have the black and white bad guys and stuff, but they still have heart. And, like a true romance or something. And it's like, okay, when I look for our core leads, what am I looking for in our leads? It's something that feels heartfelt and real. You want the chemistry to be real. They're the most grounded of all the characters in the movie. But at the same time, I wanted them to bring something that was playful and almost, something iconic about it. And their look is great. They both have an iconic look, and them as people, as actors, they're very, very cerebral, very worldly people in real life. Like, when I met them, I was just so impressed by their intelligence and their view of the world, and how cultured they were, how all the places they've been. And I know that kind of comes with the territory of actors and stuff. They get to go everywhere and meet a lot of different people, but they incorporated that into their characters so well, in terms of, you kind of get beaten down by the world sometimes. The world's so big and there's so many viewpoints, and they were able to bring that aspect into their characters. Like, these are lived in characters. They aren't just fresh, starry-eyed lovers that just, gaze into each other's eyes. They're kind of broken people who are trying to figure out their place in the world and amongst the chaotic families. And that's what Alex and Diego brought. They brought this very kind of, without going too heavy, without acting out in a different movie. They're still kept themselves in this movie and in this kind of surreal world. But I think they bring the heart, and that's what I was looking for. And when I met them, I was like, they got it.
Yeah, and they definitely have that kind of nice balance of like the lighthearted aspects of it, but then there are some scenes of real emotion that really kind of caught me.
Good, yeah.
Okay, so I know I've got limited time, so I'm gonna move really quickly. I call it the lightning round. It's just very short, lightweight questions that are about the film. I want to see how your experiences relate to them.
Sure.
Let's see. First question: do you have a scrapbook of your failures or achievements?
I do actually. I kind of, as many of my, I love all the knickknacks that go with movies, the literal, tangible knickknacks that can represent both the failures and the achievements, whether it's a newspaper clipping or a poster or whatever. But I also, after every movie, I make sure and write down where did I mess up? Where are the hurdles that I need to work on? That for the next one going into each project, how do I tackle practically? Because a lot of time goes by. Actors and a lot of crew members can jump right into the next film. For the director and writers and stuff, it's like sometimes it's 3-4 years between each movie. And for me, I want to make sure I have a journal of what I've learned to tackle, go into and be like, oh yeah, I remember, I'm not going to do that this time. I can learn, I can budge here, but I'm not going to budge here. Or I can, that person gave me that bit of wisdom, that working with that DP, or whatever. So yeah, I try to keep as much of everything, just for the one, I just love it. It's fun,
That is a much more thoughtful answer than I expected. That was fantastic. It's always great to learn from your experiences, right? That's kind of what this film is a little bit about.
Absolutely.
The main character, Ben, is described as a rabbit. So what animal would you have you been described as, or would you describe yourself as?
Good question. I would say in the past, I always kind of would get German Shepherd or something, some type of dog who's
That's a great one. Yeah, everyone loves dogs.
Yeah, right. Like I know people have said that to me. I'm pretty shy though and tame, but I like to think I'm loyal and whatnot. But at the same time, kind of innocent. There's like an innocence to dogs. I think I'm kind of a naive, innocent person at heart. I kind of try to be. I never want to grow up, sort of thing, which I know can sometimes be a bad thing. But I like to look at it as I can be ferocious when I need to be, but most of the time I'm just lazy and want to eat food.
That's perfectly understandable, and kind of makes sense after our last year that we've had. So
yeah,
it was a great time. Have you ever been in a fist fight or a gunfight?
Thank God, I don't think I've kind of been in a fist fight. That's actually a loaded question, but I would say I'm definitely a lover, not a fighter. I would rather retreat. I'm the first to run away and let someone else handle that stuff. The bigger dog handle it. But yeah, luckily no gunfights. I don't want to be in a gunfight ever. Contrary to what the movie says.
Well, you were a German Shepherd, not a Doberman, so that makes sense.
Yes.
And tough question to ask. What would you think is a cool way to die?
Good question. Well, I think one reason why this movie attracted me was because deep down when you're younger and you do romanticize everything, and now it's weird, I've changed, but I wanted to be out there making Apocalypse Now, dying in the jungle while filming a movie, but as older you get, you're like, yeah, you put your heart and soul and blood, sweat, and tears into movies or whatever you're working on. But I don't want to die that way. I think the best way to die is like comfortable and cozy, surrounded by all the people that have loved you. Like, oh, that's the cheesy answer, but I think I'm getting softer as I get older. But back in the day, I would have been like, yeah, in a blaze of glory, holding the camera, getting the money shot, and knowing that someone will edit the movie together. So I'm torn between that, but I think I've matured past that.
So you want an in-person Oscar, not a post-mortem Oscar, I guess.
Exactly. Again,
that makes sense.
Back when Heath Ledger won, I was like, yes, he died for his art. But it's like, oh, whatever. You grow up past that, way of thinking.
Yeah, definitely. So I know you have a very busy slate today. So thanks so much for your time. The movie is Die in a Gunfight. It's being released in theaters on July 16th, 2021. And thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was great.
That was Collin Schiffli, the director of Dying in a Gunfight, which is like a modern, stylish Romeo and Juliet film being released in theaters on July 16, 2021. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. And as always, please go to watcherpass.com for all your movie reviews, interviews, and recommendations. Thank you.